Welcome to our 18th episode of Comic Watchers. Comic Watchers is brought to you by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comics and media news and reviews written by fans for fans. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Spread the word that we're coming for the clickbait sites. It's our time now. I'm your host, Cody, returning after a rough couple of weeks, and here's the rest of our illustrious panel.
Ryan, I actually got to see Aquaman this weekend. It was pretty okay.
That's good. I'm Derbs, and I thought it was a little better than pretty okay.
Hey, it's me, John Jack, and there's just no way that Aquaman will ever hit my minimal level of giant crab versus dinosaur fights that I require for it to be a good movie, and so I'm never going to see it.
You have some awesome standards. This is Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I couldn't keep a straight face on that. This is Matt, and I think Pretty Okay does a good job of summarizing my feelings on Aquaman. Completely baffled by the global box office for a Pretty Okay movie.
I will come in with a solid meh.
Yes, visually it was a gorgeous movie, though. I will give him that.
I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it was just ridiculous.
Avatar made so much money, just think of it that way.
The unobtainium. Must get the unobtainium.
But you can't.
But you can't, because it's unobtainable.
But it's no worse than the totality.
Spoiler!
Or, never mind. Perpetua. That's the new thing.
Right.
Justice League.
So Brian, I know it's been kind of a busy week, especially for comics media. Hit us with the news, please.
All right. So Y-Man, The Last Man series may be appearing on FX. Marvel is giving away some digital comics. The code is forever at www.marvel.com/redeem. For more details, you can go to www.comic-watch.com. Riverdale gets a renewal for season 4 on the CW. Ben Affleck may be out as Batman, but is he really? Probably not. So he may not be appearing in Matt Reeves' movie, The Batman, but it doesn't mean that he'll never put on the cape again. We'll have to wait and see. Rumor has it that Disney is looking for a new Wolverine, according to producer Lauren Donner.
I had missed the Wolverine news. I don't know. I've been a little out of touch with news lately, but
I'll do it. I got 3 fingers.
So yeah, that actually just broke as I was writing my little script for news. So I don't know. I mean, it's just rumor, and we're not really sure who Lauren is at this point. So I want to give it a little bit more research before we end up posting it.
Yeah, no, but that's really interesting. I had just seen a post today about somebody campaigning for Tom Cruise as Wolverine for some reason, because
Why does everybody want Tom Cruise to be a superhero?
Well, because Tom Cruise is a real life superhero.
Right.
He should be the Flash. He runs real fast.
One thing that I did.
Tom Cruise is a real life supervillain, Cody. Sorry, Brian. He's a supervillain.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree with Derbs on that one. In the article, it did say that Wolverine, they never said that Hugh Jackman won't ever appear as Wolverine as an older self, but I think they're looking for somebody a little bit more younger to play an upcoming role.
Well, considering the end of that last movie, that older Hugh Jackman seems unlikely.
Well, I mean, just at present age. I mean, obviously that was 20 years in the future or whatever the math is on that.
No,
So less old than that, but older than other ones.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was saying it's an entire movie about Wolverine's rotting corpse. Come on.
Yeah.
We don't need to read it.
Yeah.
Let's do CGI.
And it's got just the background music. Every day, turn. All bird soundtrack for no reason. Is that the birds?
Yes, it is. It is the birds.
All right.
I think.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm questioning myself. Yeah, so we picked 2 recently ended arcs. Marvel's Men Without Fear 1 through 5 to cover this week, and also Infinite Dark 1 through 4 from Top Cow, which concludes the first major arc for that book. And those will be our 2 spotlights. I'm going to kick it over to Derbs, who has a long list of notes to introduce Man Without Fear, which he was also our reviewer on, which is pretty impressive. Weekly title, 5 weeks. Yeah, he's been cranking them out. So take it away, Derbs.
I'm good at cranking things out. Yeah, it was a labor of love every week. I'm pretty surprised. I had no idea who Jed MacKay was before this little run. Yeah, did you guys know? Do you guys know who he was? Do you know what he's done? Yeah. So he kind of came out of nowhere and really knocked it out of the park. So Jed MacKay, obviously the author. The artist changed every week, except I believe it's let's see, the artist who did issue 1 also did issue 5. I wasn't very fond of the art in issue 1, but it improved in issue 5. I think that he saw that it wasn't quite in line with what the other artists were doing, and it was influenced. But then Andres Mosa colored the entire mini, just incredible work all the way through. And then Clayton Cowles as a letterer. I mean, I'm sure all of us have seen something from him here and there. So Matt's, just really quick recap. I just have notes from my recaps here. So issue 1, you have Matt in the hospital in a coma, and Foggy kind of just worrying about him. And Matt, however, is not completely out. He's wrestling with subconscious imagery of these avatars of pain and fear that continue to assault him. And nothing really gets resolved, except it does shake him awake at the end. And then, we just keep on having more people show up. He's going through relationship issues with Kirsten McDuffie. Happy to see her, that kind of thing, but is still just going through his own trauma. Hope I'm not boring you guys. And then you have the Defenders coming up and helping him with his physical therapy. So he's got PT help, and he's continually just struggling with the fact that he's ignored it. He's tried to ignore fear his entire life. He's tried to push it down. He's tried to the point where he's essentially, people call him the man without fear. And MacKay's investigating how it's just a misnomer, and that he really is just avoiding it. And now that he's confronting it, because it's as broken as he's ever been, there's a resurgence of it, and he can't deny it any longer. There's I would say issue 4 was particularly poignant with the Kingpin issue. That one was really tense, really moving. But the ending of it the ending of issue 4 really made me realize that this wasn't a fluke with Jed MacKay. Like, it really confirmed that he's legitimate here. And issue 5 again was more of the same. You had the Titan on the outside that he's always struggled against with Kingpin in 4, and in 5 you have him with battling Jack inside, and that Titan, that inner Titanic voice that he has to help him struggle struggle with the fear now instead of just against it. I don't know. There was quite a bit of action here and there, just with some of the reminiscing, but I don't know. It kind of read more like an indie for me. There wasn't a ton of action. It was so introspective, and it was pretty risky, I think, to do something that was this. I'm just not used to seeing it from the big two. something like this. It's pretty low energy, introspective, but still had the momentum of like a thriller almost. I was just really impressed with it.
Yeah, so I mean, this book turned out a lot different than I expected. I remember writing up the press release when they first announced it, and it kind of had the sound of it being along the lines of Battle for the Cowl or Captain America: Fallen Sun, where who will hold the shield, like who will put on the devil horns and grab a billy club and run out into the night. And in a way, that's what this was, except there's only one person in the entirety of the Marvel Comics universe that is capable of doing that, and that's Matt Murdock. So, like, I like the way they kind of established that. Like, it's not just because he's blind and he's got the echolocation and all the other crap. It's because he is Matt Murdock. It's because he has conquered fear. He's not without fear, but he has beaten it for his entire career, and now it looks like he'll be trying to coexist with it. And I think that's, I mean, that to me sounds like this Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, which launches this week, should be amazing if he follows any of that premise.
I hope so.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I watched it, or I read it all today, probably an hour before we actually started filming. So one of the first things that I read the first one, the first issue. I was not that great on it, but I was going to keep up with it. So one of the things that Matt says right away is Daredevil's dead. Right, Sam says, how long is it going to last this time? Which is actually the first thing that I thought of as well. Actually, I'm not familiar who Sam is. Do any of you guys know who he is in the book? Daredevil? No? Okay. So, and then Matt ends up saying throughout the book as he's progressing to get better, he's going through all the stages of grief. I don't know who I am without Daredevil. I can't walk. I don't know if I'll ever walk again. How can I deal with that when I used to be able to fly? I think Fisk said it best when he said, "You are a sad, broken man." Daredevil in the yellow and red being the voice that everyone hears saying that you're going to fail. We all have that voice in our head at some point or another where it's like your constant inner monologue saying, you can't do this. You can't do this. I didn't know how he ended up getting hurt, but I found out that it wasn't from fighting a bad guy. It wasn't from falling from a roof or anything superhero-ish, but it ended up saving a kid from a truck. The series isn't about being a superhero as much as it is about being a human being. We all have been injured, maybe not to the extent of Matt, but I know that I've had to have rehab for when I had a plate in my leg and a screw. It took me almost a year to walk normal again, so I completely understand how, or at least somewhat understand how he could feel and kind of go through all those stages. Of course, Daredevil is back with a new #1. Of course, it's going to be a new #1. It's Marvel, of course. I loved all the covers on it. I think it's a great humanizing book. I didn't know that Karen died. Again, that was kind of shocking for me. I didn't know.
That happened back in like '97, dude.
Sam
I'm not
Chung.
familiar with Daredevil.
Sam Chung is the fourth blind spot. He's recently is like Matt's most recent sidekick, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
But yeah, Karen died, but she's shown up as a ghost in Marvel Knights.
Yeah.
So she's around, I think.
Something like that. But yeah, Bendis killed Karen very, very long time ago. Like when
That's
JJ
Kevin
was still
Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Oh, you're right. Kevin Smith did kill him.
That was the end of that was like issue 5 of Guardian Devil.
Yeah, you're right.
I just read it like 2 months ago. That's why.
Right.
You remember?
Yeah, nobody stays dead in comics, right? But it's impressive they've kept her there that long. And it's really been great for the Murdoch character because she's like that one, And when I saw her as the ghost, I was just kind of okay. I guess it's time. I don't know.
Meanwhile, his wife, who was driven Irreversibly Insane by Mr. Fear was relegated to one small panel in 5 issues. I thought it was good. Oh, you go ahead.
I looked up Jed McKay just to see what else he's done, and it looks like not much. Like, this is kind of a coming out party for him. He did a 3-issue Daughters of the Dragon series with, it looks like, Misty and Colleen, and a handful of like Spider-Geddon tie-ins. He did Ghost Panther for Infinity Warps. But all said and done, 18 credits to this date, and 5 of them are Man Without Fear. So this is someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, those are in my review. I only copied out the recaps, so I didn't have that right in front of me. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
But I thought all in all the mini was it was good, and I liked a lot of it. It did have a little bit of like a Return of Bruce Wayne feel to me, in that going into it, you know he's coming back. So I mentioned to the guys earlier, I didn't feel like the stakes were there really a lot of the time. Like, I didn't feel like I was worried, or like I didn't even really necessarily feel his worry, because there's already a new #1 solicited a month before this comes out, so you know he's going to be fine. I did think the Kingpin issue was definitely the turning point, and I really liked the revelation that he can't fight in the snow. It was kind of a funny one, but it makes so much sense when you think about it. That would really screw with him.
Yeah, and it has to be like a heavy blizzard. Yeah, I thought that fight was really good.
To take him into the car.
Yeah.
Can you imagine fighting Kingpin in a car?
And he headbutts him, and the King has the audacity to say, "How dare you?" I'm like, what do you mean? You're about to tear his freaking head off. How dare you, sir?
You dare!
How dare you?
That's more of a Fantastic Four villain.
Totally.
Who dares? But I liked the twin, the red Daredevil and the yellow Daredevil, playing both ends of his self-doubt, being his pain and his personal, like, mental block of not being able to do it. That was really interesting. And it was kind of funny that the only people who showed up to help him were the Netflix Defenders. So, you know, he has other friends. All in all, it was a fine book.
Yeah, Foggy showed up. Come on.
Yeah, he's in Netflix too, though. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just did not have time to read it, unfortunately. It's been a hell of a week for me. So I know I dropped the ball. But I will say, just listen to you guys.
This
It
man.
happens, buddy. It happens.
Shun. But Matt Murdock is arguably the most multi-layered character in the entire Marvel universe. So if you're going to take any character and apply this sort of introspective treatment to him, he's the guy to do that it would work best with. Actually, Derbs, I had a question, though. Did this series lead off from the end of Charles Soule's run? Is it sort of a bridge between the two, or is it standalone as its own thing?
I thought it was a bridge.
Okay.
Is that not true, Cody? I didn't actually.
Yeah, no,
I haven't been.
It's supposed to be a bridge, as far as I understand it. It's like a prequel to the Zardsky run. It was I don't know, kind of like, remember when Brad Meltzer did that 4-issue arc in between Kevin Smith and Jeff Johns Judd Winnick on Green Arrow?
Yeah.
I think it was kind of intended to be like that. Like, okay, this major run is just finishing up. We're starting what we intend to be a major run. And here's a little buffer. Here's somebody not as well known, not as famous, to kind of ease that transition. So
That's cool. But,
They also gave a leg up to some artists that haven't done a whole lot too. They
right.
Which worked 3 out of 5 times. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So.
But yeah, like I highly recommend picking it up. For anybody that's a fan of Daredevil, like specifically a fan of Daredevil, it's must-read material, I think. For people that are just fans of comics, like check it out. It was really well done. And we're getting ready to move into a new exciting era for Daredevil that doesn't involve Charles Soule. So, I mean, dope. Looking forward to that.
I will say that this book is probably 100% read better in trade than it probably would be singles. I think it was great that it was week to week, but I definitely would have I enjoyed it more that I got to read it all in one sitting versus waiting each week. Derbs, you actually reviewed it. What are your feels on that one?
Oh, week to week, basically for me, it's almost like a trade. Like week to week, I would have been tortured if it was monthly or even bi-weekly. I would have just been a little, damn it. But I'm going to buy the trade. I'm going to keep my floppies and buy the trade. And I only do that when it's something I really dig. So, I mean, for me, this is really goes up at there the best of, like up there with even Ellis. Like, I think it's right up there.
Yeah,
So.
I'm actually, it made me excited. And I've never read Daredevil until this one. I like the show. But I've never actually read Daredevil before. I know. But it actually made me want to read the next Daredevil. So I'm kind of excited.
Read Daredevil Volume 2. You'll be glad you did.
The whole damn thing. The whole damn
Yes,
thing.
read issue 1 through 120.
I'll send you a list, Bri.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, definitely.
Daredevil 1 through 120.
Yeah, I mean that is
on the Diggle stuff.
Diggle starts on 121.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, I mean,
does the last issue is 120 / what 500, 600, something like that.
Yeah,
because when they did the first run of
500.
So we also decided to spotlight a Top Cow book. I know a lot of you out there are saying, "What? Top Cow is still a thing?" All right. So I'm going to kick it over to JJ to introduce Infinite Dark because this was his idea.
Wait, real quick, isn't it done by Image?
Top Cow is an Image imprint subsidiary.
But Image did distribute it.
It's what Silvestri's imprint.
Yeah, Silvestri's. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the book is Infinite Dark. By Top Cow, written by Ryan Cady with art by Andrea Muti, colors by K. Michael Russell, and letters by Troy Pateri. This is the tale we're reviewing from the first arc. It's the first issues 1 through 4. And in the first 4 issues, we have had a scientist go insane and turn on his, or let me lead with, entropy has overtaken the universe, which is the cessation of movement within molecular. So all molecules are moving at all times. Entropy is the slow breakdown of that molecular movement. So eventually, that's what the heat death of the universe is. So this book takes place after the heat death of the universe. There is one space station left in the universe that is full of humans and they're the last living things in the entire universe. Heat death has overtaken everything else. And in this one last bastion of survivors, a scientist decides to turn off a fail-safe, or to turn off key systems in order to self-destruct after meeting with a monster outside the airlock that has told him to. And, silly scientists. So in this, we have the leaders of the last civilization ever, struggling to fight this scientist. His plan. The scientist is murdered in the first issue. I'm sorry, Cody. I'm tired. And
it's not your fault, JJ. I just, in my head, I keep hearing over and over again, stop me if you've heard this one before. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Just carry on. Sorry.
So we get, and eventually they're able to initiate a failsafe that strikes off a new Big Bang and potentially reignites life in the universe. And that's the end of the first arc. I really liked this as it went on. I was reading it in single issues as it came out, and this will be the first trade. So if you're a trade waiter, I really liked it. The art wasn't always the strongest, I felt, but I liked the monster design. It was like kind of a shadow monster, shadows. And then I thought I liked the idea of the failsafe at the end. It was almost like a Scott Snyder style arc where everything goes to crap, and then at the last moment they pull out the Batmanium or the 10th metal or totality. I don't know. So, Cody didn't like it, but I think it's no worse than some books that people are making a lot more money to make. So
I'm going to do my best JJ impression here. It's just every bad sci-fi story you've ever heard in your entire life crammed into one 4-issue arc. It's bad. I thought it was bad. I'm sorry. It's just that it's all common sci-fi tropes. The miscommunication amongst leadership that you see in the 100 or in Hugh Howey's Silo series or in every other friggin' sci-fi book you've ever read. The MacGuffin or whatever you want to call it at the end, that's the fail-safe mechanism that nobody knew was there except for one person. Like, this fail-safe mechanism initiates a Big Bang and brings life back to the universe. Do that first. Let's start with that. Let's try to get life back in the universe instead of just sitting out here on an island in the middle of nowhere by yourselves, hoping that, I don't know, you can live forever on your space station. I was absolutely blown. Like, through the first 3 issues, I was like, all right, well, I mean, let's like, this could be going towards, some kind of psychodrama or, some kind of examination of mental illness, or nope, monster's real. You lost me. I'm sorry. It had potential to be something new and different or well executed, and for me, it failed in all phases. Somebody else talk. I don't like being the negative person in the group.
Okay, I'll split the difference between you guys. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I felt like it, in terms of just general execution and like page layouts, flow of the story, dialogue sounding naturalistic, et cetera, like basic building blocks of the story, it was all there. I thought it was a pretty cool mystery. Like you, Cody, when the big monster was revealed at the end, it really lost me. I feel like the story would have been better served if it had remained a mystery, or at least more enigmatic than just some kind of a space monster. And then it just got really silly, like, with the restarting the Big Bang and everything. But up until that point, it was I felt like it was competently executed. I wish there'd been a little more expansion on some of the characters in it. Like, I didn't really feel much of a connection to anyone outside of Deva, however you pronounce her name, the main character. And even that was just kind of on a surface level. So there was that. You were talking about tropes. I kept waiting for Smith, the AI, to have its Hal moment, which it didn't. That was one trope we did manage to avoid.
I will say, I agree with that. That was really fun. I was waiting for it to turn the whole time.
Sorry. But it didn't happen. One thing I kept thinking as I was reading it, though, is, my God, Warren Ellis could have written the hell out of this story. Like when he was going through his big sci-fi kick there around the turn of the century, man, like it really reminded me in a lot of ways of Ocean.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a lost classic.
Ocean from Wildstorm.
Yes.
I want to say that's about 2004-ish for those of you that are at home saying, well, I didn't really like Infinite Dark, but maybe I'll like Ocean. Check out Ocean. It was a really good book.
Chris Krause art, too. Bonus. But for me, I mean, scale of 0 to 10, I'd probably give this series about a 6. So that was my assessment on it. My biggest thing, like thinking back on it, is, am I really going to remember much about this series a week from now? And the answer is I don't think so, to be a little non-committal. But I am at least curious to see where the hell it goes now. Because really, where can it possibly go?
Quarter bin.
Wasn't that bad. The art was
savage. Savage.
That was brutal. All right, Derbs?
Yeah. I was reading it, and I was so the first issue is almost all expository dialogue, and then you have it peppered throughout. It gets less and less, but I felt like I was reading a pitch for an anime. That's what this whole, the first 4 at least, felt like they were just pitching this as an anime, and maybe hopefully they'll get picked up as one, something like that. And but I'm also seeing multiple animes influencing this little run. Sorry, and those, and other sci-fi movies, Event Horizon, a few other things, and the seams are too visible. I mean, everybody's influenced by something, but I can see the seams, and that's not great. That's not good. I feel you on the characters too, Matt. I think some of that is due to a lot of subpar art. I found like it jumped around a lot, and the colors were so saturated, and sometimes it was difficult to differentiate which character was which, unless you really wanted to slow down. And it was already pretty wordy, like Arbizo said earlier. Like, I didn't really want to slow down any more than I was already, because I was going at a pretty good pace. I wasn't trying to rush through it. But I'm like, who's saying this? What? Oh, yeah. Wait, who is this again? Okay, why do I give a shit? Oh, yeah, I don't. And this is kind of how it just kind of kept going. And I don't want to trash these creators. Not at all. I think the effort is way worth doing something like this. I mean, absolutely do this, but learn from it and do something else.
Yeah, I mean, where do I go from here? So I always like books that I wouldn't have read on my own. I like when there's suggestions, when they're made to, because I always want to pick up something new. I want to pick up whatever, but normally we always tend to stick with what we generally like. So I like that we have these spotlights that other people force on us to read. Although that sounds like a negative, it was actually meant to be a positive. So I'm not really familiar with sci-fi horror, so it seems something brand new to me. I'm glad I was able, actually kind of, I don't know if I'm glad that I was able to read it all in one setting. This actually may have been good if I read it one by one, just because it would have given you time to think about it, digest it. And again, it was super, super wordy, and reading it all together seemed kind of not for me, so to speak. I like that the bad person was a god, but nope, you're not. You're just another a species that's on top of the food chain, but you're not. You can be hurt by Felicia. One thing I was a little confused on was that they were stuck on big space station, yet at the very end they blew up the space station and went away on the space pod. Why didn't you do that from the start? Or maybe I missed something. I very well could have. I'm not sure I'd recommend this book for everybody. Well, I take that back. I know this book isn't meant for everybody. It's wordy, but I liked it. but I completely see how it's not somebody else's cup of tea. It's borderline my cup of tea. Like once in a while I'll do it without sugar, but most of the time I like it with sugar. That's kind of where I'm at with this one. It was an okay book.
And I don't mind wordy sometimes, Brian. It's what the words are, and that's when it becomes wordy. Like there's words, and I don't mind reading words.
Right.
But when it starts sounding wordy, it's because those words, those words just kind of have a meandering to them. Their direction, there's a direction, but they're just grabbing me by the shirt instead of
When you start doing that, how much longer is this thing anyway?
yeah. How many more pages of exposition are we going to have? There's even one point where Smith, except they spell it SM1TH. If I'm saying that, am I saying SM1TH or SM1TH? Because I'm sorry, it's just they're saying words. Those are speech bubbles. That makes no sense.
Well,
I mean,
the one thing I did. Sorry, real quick. The one thing I didn't like is when they had the bubbles that they had. It wasn't like, you know how normally like there's a square when they're talking about or a placement or a thought or something. The squares in this book seemed off. Like it was another conversation that somebody else was having. Like it didn't blend well. I was like, wait, are they talking? Or is she thinking this? There wasn't a lot of translation, or there wasn't a lot of transitions in it, which made it a little bit confusing. I had that same thought as you, Derby. I was like, is this, how do you say the name? Which I actually thought was kind of cool. I also kind of like the fact that I didn't know what the hell was going on from 1 minute to the other until the very end. I was like...
That was always a great thing.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know where this is going. Like most books, like especially in superhero genre, you know where it's going to go. You know how it's going to end. How you get there is what you're really reading. With this book, I was like, I don't fucking know where we're going at all.
Dude, I felt...
Yeah, and I kind of like that in a weird way. I wouldn't want to do this full time. I like knowing certain things, but at the same time, I was like, for this book, it worked for me, or maybe I'm just like trying to stretch and grab something that I liked from it. I don't know, but for me, it was.
I wish I could say the same thing, but I felt like I knew exactly where it was going the whole time, and that's my problem. I was like, oh, they're giving me a map. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree that it was relatively telegraphed. I have two positive takeaways that I want to get out there because I hate being super negative about anything.
Do it.
I thought that the lettering was sharp. I thought that the transitions between the monstrator bubbles or the text boxes that tell you time and place and where, as Brian called them, I thought that those were really well done. The way that they overlaid the director of special projects speech with what was happening, I thought was a really nice dual course narrative. And the one in the middle of Smith, like that's such a typical cyberpunk convention. Like that doesn't bother me. That's just part of the genre. But I thought the lettering was good. I thought the use of dual course narrative in a few select spots was really well done. And everything else can go in the trash. But
I mean, the art was okay. Like I didn't like I was.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I guess coming into Top Cow, which I mean, from my time in the 90s, I know as an imprint that is mostly known for really killer art. That felt a little bit off to me, but I mean, that's just my own preconceived notions of what Top Cow is supposed to be. I haven't read a Top Cow book since like, I don't know when they launched, 1992. So like 1993 was my last Top Cow book. So I expected it to be gorgeous.
They had something recently.
So they got a Cyberforce going. Cyberforce number 8, I think, is actually going to come out, or actually did come out after like 18 delays or something like that.
Is that the one Tyler's review? No, that's Youngblood or something.
No, Rob is doing Cyberforce, and I kept sending him late messages like, "Where's Cyberforce number 8?" And he kept writing back, "I don't know." Where is it?
Can I give you guys a nerd nitpick and maybe see if I'm being too,
Sure.
So what's it called? Dark sector, the part of the station that they
Yes.
kind of removed power from.
Mhm.
Why are they still pumping usable atmosphere into it? Why? I mean, it's a place where people can go and do sinister things. Why are you still pumping
you
air
gotta
into
have a
breathable
planned alley.
atmosphere? If you're sealing the place off, why are you bothering to pump breathable atmosphere into it? I don't get it.
Maybe there's not a way to cut it off. Maybe it's a vent that it just goes through.
Absolutely no. No.
They
Not
did
a-
mention that it was built as a singular design, not modular, at the very end. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like, they did. I felt like maybe try to come back and be like,
Oh,
we
shit.
did that thing back there, and now it's like, but
Yeah, by the
no.
time book 4 came around, I wasn't really, fine tooth combing it.
Mhm.
But there's also an anime that's exactly like this. The premise is the same, where there's this one big ship, and it's the last arc of humankind. I can't remember what it's called, because they are using robots to find. They're running away from some alien species, and then using robots to, like big suits, like Gundams, to find another place, another home for humankind. But it's this big station that's one singular piece. It's not modular either. I can't remember the name of the anime, so I'm very sorry that I'm offending somebody. But I'm looking at it and going, "Oh, it's that, dudes." No.
Well, there's a few like last boat things. What was that one with Dennis Quaid? You remember the one? Pandorum. that was not a great movie. Titan
Yeah,
AE.
I skipped that one, but yeah, like there
Titan
were a lot-
AE,
Yeah, there you go.
Titan After Earth.
My grandma took me to see that in theaters.
Yeah, there. If anybody has read the Silo series by Hugh Howey, I felt like there was a lot of similar notes in this, where you've got somebody who goes out, sees something, comes back, and it completely changes how they fit into the social structure. So I feel like there's a lot of similar notes there. If you are interested in this story but want to see it done better, I would highly recommend Hugh Howey's Silo series. The first book is Wool. I believe you can get it on Amazon for free. It was a novella, maybe 100 pages. If you like it, there's 9 of them. If you don't, no skin off my back. I'm not getting any royalties or anything off of it, but it was a series that I really enjoyed that really hit. Like, all the way through reading this, I was like, I've seen this story done better. So, so I think that's probably enough on Infinite Dark, unless anybody has any last zingers they want to sneak in
I
there.
don't have a zinger, but I think, like we just talked about in chat, I think it might be a good idea to revisit the next book, because we really hated on this one a little bit, and I really want to see if they found a voice. It might be interesting to revisit it after the next 4 issues or whatever.
Let's revisit that at that time after we made.
Let's revisit if we're going to revisit the revisit.
Yeah, let's revisit the
I'll keep reading it. I'll let you know.
Appointment.
I'll let you know when the next round ends or whatever, or if anything happens.
So on that note, why don't we close out and with what everybody has been reading and what they're looking forward to this week?
Every time you say that, I feel like you want us to like close out with a prayer. Like I always feel that. That's just the old Mormon in me talking, because that's just kind of how the cadence of shit goes, And that's the only time I hear it in my life is when you say it. When you guys say something like that, like we're gonna close the show out. Let's say a prayer. Why not?
Well, all right, Cthulhu, he who grants chaos, blah blah blah. All right,
Yada yada.
Matt,
Blessed
what have
be
you
the
been
new
reading?
comic book day is tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
Amen. Amen.
So I this last week revisited Jonathan Hickman's FF run a little bit. I don't think it's been a long time since I've read it, but I don't think I realized just how many seeds he planted in that run that would several years later pop up in Secret Wars. So if you're a Hickman fan, it's totally worth checking out. If you're not a Hickman fan, you're probably going to hate it. And speaking of whom, I don't what's going on with him. He seems to just completely dropped off the radar. Is anyone reading anything at all from Jonathan Hickman?
If
He
you're
just
not,
finished Manhattan Projects.
but if you're not,
Okay.
if you don't know if you're a Hickman fan or not, is it worth checking out?
Yes.
I think so because it's a very cerebral, hard sci-fi take on the Fantastic Four. But you really need to start it from the beginning because he's a long form storyteller.
Yeah, the things I've read from Hickman over the years that I've liked, I've really, really liked. And the things that I didn't like, I really didn't like. So I'm a little gun shy with Hickman. I've sunk a lot of money into books that, I finally got around to reading and was like, all right, that happened.
I loved Manhattan Projects that was just finished. Coincidentally, I just finished Ultimates by Hickman yesterday. So, just a little coincidence. I also have been reading. I finished up the Aquaman I was going to read to building up to reviewing it, and I started Guardians of the Galaxy by Abnett and Lanning to build up to reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, moving on to what I'm looking forward this week, we've talked a lot about Daredevil. So I'm Daredeviled out right now, even though I'm totally looking forward to that book because Chip Zdarsky is on a pretty damn good hot streak right now. Uncanny X-Men number 11, Cyclops and Wolverine. The band is back. Hopefully Rosenberg fulfills his promise of getting us back to some old school X-Men shenanigans. We'll see. I'm a little more hot and cold on Rosenberg than some of you guys are. So, but I'm really looking forward to it. X-Men was my gateway drug to comics, so I'm always down for good X-Men stuff. And that's me. How about you guys?
So for me, me and Nick, one of the other assistant editors, kind of went back and forth on Deadpool 1 through 8. He was wanting to see if wanted to review it. I said, I'll do this journey with you. Let's read it, come back. I actually really liked it, which was surprising. It's weird. And I did like that it wasn't a continuous arc. Like each book was a completely new, weird, crazy story. And it works for Deadpool. And it's actually a lot like the movie. Like you can read it in Ryan Reynolds' voice. So that was kind of cool. Just read it. It's wacky. It's crazy. It's everything you'd probably expect from a Deadpool book. What I'm looking forward to is actually probably Young Justice the most. Of course, X-Men too, because that was my gateway drug to comic books as well.
So, I mean, I don't really need to say, right? Daredevil is pretty much the thing that's in my future. So, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. X-Men, of course. I don't think you can really be a part of Comic Watch without kind of having X-Men on your back.
I can.
Oh, John Jack, though. But John Jack's special. We love John Jack. Oh, Brian. Oh, Brian.
All
That's
right.
But
JJ, what's on your read list? Or what have you been reading and what's on your read list?
Well, as I said, I finished the Ultimates by Jonathan Hickman and a couple other books. I also recently read Silver Age Superboy 100-pager, which was pretty neat. Some this and that. I've been reading a bit of 70s 2-in-1. Catching up on Godzilla from the 70s also. Bit of this, bit of that, the usual stuff. This week, I am looking forward to Daredevil because Zdarsky is, as Matt, I think, said, Zdarsky's been just kicking ass lately, and I feel like he got screwed out of Fantastic Four, so I'm glad he's on something else good. Honestly, Daredevil's better. Don't tell anybody, Chip. But I think there's a new Conan book this week. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Hey,
Yes, number 3 comes out.
new Conan. That's what I'm excited for. And not Batman 64 from DC. Nobody read Batman 64 from DC. Stop enabling them.
Well, I buy Batman and Flash, so I mean it's just inevitable.
Stop enabling.
Yeah, I actually
Codependent
dropped. I dropped King's Batman from my LCS. I'm not picking it up anymore. I'm done.
Nice. Welcome to the party.
This actually is not a King issue. This is a Joshua Williamson issue, the writer on Flash right now.
Oh,
It's a 4-part crossover between Batman and Flash. Head on over to www.comic-watch.com and check out my Flash reviews to see how excited I am for this upcoming crossover.
Spoiler alert. He's not.
Not even a little bit.
I want to love it. Barry Allen is one of my all-time favorite characters. I want to just be in love with everything that happens, and the broad strokes that are happening in this title are great. The minutia, the voice, the pacing, the layouts, the artwork, the artwork's hit and miss. I mean, because it's a bi-weekly, they have a lot of different artists coming in and out.
And most of them are Scott Collins.
It's just not very good, and I want it to be good, and I want it to be good so bad, especially because I'm reviewing it. Like, I reviewed 3 friggin' issues of Flash this month. I want it to be great because I don't want the chore of being like, okay, what was good? I hate that. So as far as what I've been reading this week, like nothing. Coming out of being sick, like I'm doing everything I can just to play catch up. I did watch a bunch of the post-winter break Arrowverse shows. Watched like 3 episodes of Flash, a couple episodes of Arrow. This is the best overall season cluster for the Arrowverse in quite a few years, I think. Like maybe since the first season of Supergirl. So I mean, the crossover was a lot of fun. Flash, I think, is really strong right now. Arrow has bounced back from just one of the worst seasons of television I've ever watched in my life to actually a pretty strong season. Like, it's entertaining. They're bringing in a lot of the Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino's run, a lot of those elements, and they're doing them better than they did last season. So if you haven't been watching, you're not too far behind. Catch up on Arrow. It's been good. And keep up on Flash. And I mean, I have the biggest crush on Nora right now in the world. Great character, adorable actress, intriguing storyline. So, yeah.
Yeah, Arrow, speaking of Arrow, Arrow actually just got renewed for a 7th season?
8th.
Or 8th season? Yeah. Whichever one's not airing right now, they get another one.
Right. Right, and that was a big question mark because Amel's contract was up this year. So they kind of thought, 7 seasons, he's signed for 7 years, and then we'll move in a different direction with our flagship book, or flagship show. But they're going to keep it going. I'm on board. I've been on board since day one. No sense in changing it now.
What if you're convinced that CW format shows give you cancer?
Well,
I'm pretty sure they give you cancer.
Because I'm pretty sure that,
so does water and the air. And
it's probably what happened to Ross. It wasn't the Tigers.
I will say that Stephen Amal loves being Arrow, so he would be easy to sign on. Like, I don't ever see him playing anything else or wanting to play anything else. Like, I mean, he goes to WWE and wrestles occasionally. Like, that's
right.
He's just Arrow. Like, that's just it.
As far as what I'm looking forward to this week, nothing really is jumping out to my. The first Age of X-Men, Marvelous X-Men comes out. I enjoyed Alpha a lot, so I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this. I'm more cold than hot on Rosenberg's X-related stuff. His kind of central team stuff seems to be all right, but I didn't care for Dead Souls and didn't like Multiple Man, so I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Man was awful.
It
was a bad.
It was so bad.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not as excited about. I'm not as excited about Uncanny as I was 2 weeks ago. I don't like Cyclops either. I'm sorry.
I love Cyclops. That's the only X-Man I like.
Of course,
All right,
of
and
course
on that note, we'll go ahead and close the show because that's going to be dangerous waters we just entered.
The show's gonna run another hour now.
No, it's been a fun week. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, we're glad to have you back. As far as hosting, I don't ever want to do it again. So,
I'll do it next
all
time.
right, guys. Yeah. Cody, just don't call out. All right, make sure you check us out on Facebook Comic Watch, Facebook The Comic Watchers Show. Check us out on our website, www.comic-watch.com, Twitter, C Watchers Show, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify, The Comic Watchers Show. And as always, you can like us and subscribe to us on YouTube. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Fare thee well.